perfect. He says confusion is the greatest form of communication.
Confusion was Dali's facade. It gave him a license to do anything. But then in 1965, real life came crashing through. Dali fell in love. Amanda Lear was a 26-year-old catwalk model in London and Paris.
It was the beginning of a big love affair. It lasted, I think, 15, 16 years.
Ever the showman, Dali had no interest in a conventional relationship.
He wanted hallucination, he wanted vision, he wanted everything theatrical. He didn't want the real thing.
But though Dali was now living out his fantasies, he was still deeply dependent on Gala.
He was terrified to exist without her protection, without her management.
To the outside world, they were still the perfect partnership. But privately, Gala feared she was losing control of her creation.
If she wanted something, she had to have it. And if she couldn't have it, she was quite spiteful. You know, she'd bite people.
People were terrified of Gala, absolutely terrified. Whenever she would walk into the room, she was that high, you know, but whenever she walked into the room, everybody, oh, Gala is here, oh, God, 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 you know, and cigarettes went out.
She bit people, she kicked them, she spat at them. It's very violent, you know, it's a tremendously violent kind of side to her character began to emerge.
In a way, she made Dali and she destroyed Dali. She made Dali because when she met him, he was totally unknown. As a genius, and he was, oftentimes they cannot function. You know, they don't know how to make a phone call. They don't know if a dollar bill is higher or lower than $10. I've seen Dali in a taxi giving $100, not knowing what it was.
This astonishing double act enchanted critics and audiences alike. But when it turned bad, Dali's life would become as dark and haunted as his art. In 1904, the artist Salvador Dali was born in the small town of Figueres in northeast Spain. His father was a well-off notary who was both strict and domineering. His mother was a devout Catholic who doted on her son. But Salvador Dali was born twice. The first Salvador Dali died at the age of 22 months. 9 months later, Salvador the artist was born. His mother dressed and treated him like a replacement son and gave Dali an identity crisis that would mark him for life.
To Dali, the death of his elder brother, also called Salvador, was deeply significant because the 3-year-old child was taken to see the grave with his name on it.
He was telling me that the photo of the dead brother was above his father and mother's bed, you know, in the bedroom. And Dali was terrified by this photograph, because every time they were referring to Salvador, he wasn't sure if they were talking about the dead Salvador or the one alive.
Dali was a very shy, rather sickly child who rapidly developed a persona, rather like a kind of hermit crab. He had this shell that concealed the kind of timorous little person beneath.
Dali started drawing at the age of 3, but his shyness masked a deep craving for attention that grew alongside his talent. By the age of 10, he was already an accomplished painter, and his mother sent him to art school. 30 years later, Dali's good friend, the budding artist Antonio Pichat, shared the same teacher and would hear stories of Dali's early antics.
The young Dali would suddenly start running around, and he'd run towards one of the marble columns in the school, and he'd slam his head into it, and then he'd start bleeding.
Dali's behavior would stop everyone in their tracks.
And they'd ask him, "What happened to you? Why did you do that?" And he looked at them and said, "Because no one was paying any attention to me."
Dali's disturbing performance was a sign of things to come. Art may have been his passion, but attention was his lifeblood. And then, when he was 16, Dali's beloved mother died of cancer. It was a devastating blow to his self-confidence. The following year, in 1922, Dali attended art school in Madrid. His talent was undisputed,